Hello viewers, hope everyone is doing good. Welcome again. Now in this video, as you all know, this channel is not only meant to teach the Fulani language but also including their culture, history, stories about the famous Fulani people. So in this video I want to bring up the story of one of the famous worldly known, great, highly sophisticated scholar and hero known as Sheikh Usman Bin Fodio or Usman Bin Fodio. So, Bin Fodio was one of a class of urbanized ethnic Fula people living in the Hausa kingdoms, which literally now is northern Nigeria since the early 1400s. Bin Fodio taught Maliki fiqh in the city-state of Gobir until 1802, when motivated by his reformist ideas and sufferings, increasing repression by local authorities, he led his followers into exile. This exile began a political and social revolution which spread from Gobir through northern Nigeria and Cameroon, and was echoed in a jihad movement led by the Fula people across West Africa. Bin Fodio declined much of the pomp of relation, and while developing contacts with religious reformists and jihad leaders across Africa, he soon passed actual leadership of the Sokoto state to his son Muhammad Bello. Bin Fodio wrote more than 100 books concerning religion, government, culture, and society. He developed a critique of existing African Muslim elites for what he saw as their greed, paganism, violation of the standards of Sharia law, and use of heavy taxation. He encouraged literacy and scholarships for women as well as men, and several of his daughters emerged as scholars and writers. His writings and sayings continue to be much quoted today and often affectionately referred to as Sheikh in Nigeria. Many followers consider Fodio to have been a mujaddid, a divinely inspired reformer of Islam. Bin Fodio's uprising was a major episode of a movement described as the Fula Jihads in the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries. It followed the jihads successfully waged in Futa Bundu, Futa Toro, and Futa Jallon between 1650 and 1750, which led to the creation of these or those three Islamic states. In his turn, Bin Fodio inspired a number of later West African jihads, including those of Sekou Ahmadu, founder of the Masina Empire, Omar Saidu Tall, founder of the Tokolio Empire, who married one of Bin Fodio's granddaughters, and Modibo Adama, founder of the Adamawa Emirates. Bin Fodio was a Fulani descendant of a Torokbe family that was well established in Hausaland. He was well educated in classical Islamic science, philosophy, and theology. He also became a revered religious thinker. Usman Bin Fodio criticized the Hausa kingdoms for their unjust and illegal taxes, confiscations of property, compulsory military service, bribery, gift-taking, and the enslavement of other Muslims. Bin Fodio also criticized the Hausa rulers for condoning paganism, worshipping fetishes, and believing in the power of talismans, divination, and conjuring. He also insisted on the observance of Maliki fiqh in the commercial, criminal, and personal sectors. Usman Bin Fodio also denounced the mixing of men and women, pagan custom, dancing at bridal feast, and inheritance practices contrary to Sharia. Fodio was also very influenced by the mushahada or mystical visions he was having. In 1789, a vision led him to believe he had the power to work miracles and teach his own mystical litany. His litanies are still widely practiced and distributed in the Islamic world. His theological writings dealt with concepts of the mujaddid, renewer, and the role of the ulama in teaching history, and other works in Arabic and the Fula language. Fodio broke from the royal court and used his influence to secure approval for creating a religious community in his hometown of Degel that would, Fodio hoped, be a model town. He stayed there for 20 years, writing, teaching, and preaching. As in other Islamic societies, the autonomy of Muslim communities under ulama leadership made it possible to resist the state and the state version of Islam in the name of Sharia and the ideal caliphate. Usman Bin Fodio's appeal to justice and morality rallied the outcasts of the Hausa society. He found his followers among the Fulbe and Fulani. The Fulbe and Fulani were primarily cattle pastoralists. These pastoralist communities were led by the clerics living in rural communities who were full speakers and closely connected to the pastoralists. The Fulani would later hold the most important offices of the new state: house peasants, runaway slaves, itinerant preachers, and others also responders to Usman's preaching. His jihad served to integrate a number of peoples into a single religio-political movement. In 1802, Yunfa, the ruler of Gobir and one of Danfodio's students, turned against him, revoking the girl's autonomy and attempting to assassinate Danfodio. Danfodio and his followers declared Hijrah and fled into the western grasslands of Gudu, where they turned for help to the local Fulani nomads. Danfodio's followers at this time entitled him Amir al-Mu'min, head of the Muslim community. The rulers of Gobir forbade Muslims to wear turbans and veils, prohibited conversions, and ordered converts to Islam to return to their old religion. In his book Tambih al-Ikhwan al-Ahwal Sudan, concerning the government of our country and neighboring countries in Sudan, Danfodio wrote, "The government of a country is the government of its king without question. If the king is a Muslim, his land is Muslim. If he is an unbeliever, his land is a land of unbelievers. In these circumstances, it is obligatory for anyone to leave it for another country." Danfodio did exactly this when he left Gobir in 1802. Of the Hausa states, warning them that Danfodio could trigger a widespread jihad. Usman Danfodio was proclaimed Amir al-Mu'minin, or commander of the faithful in Gudu. This made him a political as well as a religious leader, giving him the authority to declare or pursue jihad. He raised an army and became its commander. A widespread uprising began in Hausaland. This uprising was largely composed of the Fulani, who held a powerful military advantage with their cavalry. It was also widely supported by the Hausa peasantry, who felt overtaxed and oppressed by their rulers. Fodio started the jihad against Gobir in 1804. At the time of the war, Fulani communications were carried along trade routes and rivers draining into the Niger-Benue Valley, as well as the Delta and the lagoons. The call for jihad reached not only other Hausa states such as Kano, Daura, Katsina, and Zaria, but also Borno, Gombe, Adamawa, Nupe, These were all places with major or minor groups of Fulani alims. By 1808, Fodio had defeated the rulers of Gobir, Kano, Katsina, and other Hausa kingdoms. Fodio was defeated by Ibadan warlords in Yorubaland as far as the forest zone. After only a few years of the Fulani War, Fodio found himself in command of the Hausa state, the Fulani Empire. That is, his son Muhammad Bello and his brother Abdullah carried on the jihad and took care of the administration. Fodio worked to establish an efficient government grounded in Islamic law. After 1811, Fodio retired and continued writing about the righteous conduct of the Muslim religion. Many of the Fulani, led by Usman Bin Fodio, were unhappy that the rulers of Hausa states were mingling Islam with aspects of the traditional religion. Fodio created a theocratic state stricter interpretation of Islam. In Tambih al-Ikhwan ala Ahwal al-Sudan, he wrote, "As for the sultans, they are undoubtedly unbelievers, even though they may profess the religion of Islam because they practice polytheistic rituals and turn people away from the path of God and raise the flag of a worldly kingdom over the banner of Islam. All this is unbelief according to the consensus of opinion." Fodio addressed in his books what he saw as the flaws and demerits of the African non-Muslim or nominally Muslim rulers. Some of the accusations he made were corruption at various levels of administration and the neglect of the right of ordinary people. Fodio also criticized the heavy taxation and the obstruction of the business and trade of the Hausa states by legal system. Usman Bin Fodio wrote hundreds of works on Islamic sciences ranging from creed, Maliki jurisprudence, hadith criticism, poetry, and Islamic spirituality, the majority of them being in Arabic. He also penned about 480 poems in Fulfulde and Hausa. So this is just a summary. Uh, Thanks for watching and hit the subscribe button and I'll see you next video. Thank you.